Hello and bonjour, teachers and students. Welcome back to our second Follow the Farmers live stream event, where we are bringing you to Stefan Signer's farm, Signer Dairy. For those of you who have not seen my face before, my name is Larissa Peich, and I am with Agriculture in the Classroom Manitoba. And I, along with my team, are so excited to welcome you all here today. The Follow the Farmers program was developed to help connect students with Manitoba farms and farmers to help gain an understanding of where your food comes from. Students, we want you to be able to learn directly from the farmers that work hard every day to grow the food that you eat. As we all know, some rural locations in Manitoba can bring with them some Wi-Fi issues. So all farm tours have been pre-filmed to make sure we are providing all of you a clear, high-quality farm tour. In the new year, we'll be offering 2 more live events, the first being in early February, where we will be touring a sheep farm. And the last offering for the school year will be in early May, when we will be visiting 2 different pig farming operations. We are so thankful to our video sponsor, Penner Farm Services, who has worked alongside us in the creation of these wonderful farm tours. And to our farmers, thank you so much for welcoming us onto your farms and for giving time out of your busy schedules to help us bring agriculture education into classrooms across the province. This event will be recorded and made available on the Follow the Farmers registered teacher program page for any of those classrooms that were unable to join us today. Today, we are streaming both through our AITCM YouTube and Facebook channels, so there are many opportunities to join. And as a reminder, teachers, you'll need to log into your YouTube account in order to be able to access the live question feed for during the Q&A portion of this event. Since our first weather event last month, we have had close to 700 more students register for the Follow the Farmers program. Thank you so much, teachers, for making the decision to get your students involved. Currently, we have close to 5,000 students from all areas across Manitoba involved in this program. Teachers and students, please feel free to say hi in the chat. We would love to hear where you're joining from. And after the farm tour, we'll be diving into a live question and answer period with Stefan himself, and he will try to answer as many questions as he can. After the Q&A, we'll be playing a live Kahoot game together, and all the classrooms across Manitoba can compete against each other and test their agriculture and dairy knowledge. A reminder, teachers, be sure to have the devices that you're using for the Kahoot logged in to kahoot.it so that they're ready to go for later on. So it is time to introduce our farmer. Without further ado, Stefan Signer was born in Switzerland. When he was 6 years old, his family immigrated to Canada, where his parents bought a small dairy farm. Stefan grew up on the farm together with his younger brother and his 3 younger sisters. After graduating from high school and completing an animal science degree at the University of Manitoba, Stefan returned to the family farm and took over the operation from his parents. His parents are partially retired, but they still live really close by and still enjoy coming to the farm to help out. Stefan is an active member in his community and currently sits on the Dairy Farmers of Manitoba board, who are also longtime supporters of Agriculture in the Classroom Manitoba. Today, Stefan still lives on the farm with his wife, Stephanie. Yes, Stefan and Stephanie. And their 4 children, Isabella, Emily, Oliver, and Annalise. Students, can you please help me in welcoming Stefan today? Hi, Stefan.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
I'm really excited to have everybody visit here. I know it's the roads are pretty bad today, and it's windy and cold. So it's really cool that you can all come here without having to brave our Manitoba winters. Right now we're in the barn, we're in the milking barn, and I'm excited to answer some questions for you. And I hope you have a good time, and I hope you learn something.
Awesome. Thank you, Stefan. Teachers and students, feel free to add any questions to the comment section throughout the farm tour. And without further ado, here we go. Let's join Stefan on his dairy farm.
Welcome to Signer Dairy. I'm Stefan Signer, and we're here in beautiful southern Manitoba. I farm here with my family, my wife, and our 4 children. Today, I'm going to take you on a little bit of a tour of our dairy farm, show you our cows, we milk Holsteins, show you our calves, where they live, what they eat, and how we take care of them. So this farm has been here for over 100 years. About 30 years ago, my parents immigrated from Europe, and we were able to buy this farm. I grew up on the farm, and even as a little boy, I was always helping out. Now, I'm in charge of running the whole operation. Here we are in the cow pasture, where we have some of our milking cows hanging out for the day. On a nice day like today, where we have a little bit of cloud and a lot of wind, all the cows like to be out in the pasture. When it gets really hot, they prefer to stay in the barn. In the barn, the fans keep a nice breeze going through the building, and it's always shady. While the grass is growing well and it stays nice and lush and green, we put the cows on a different pasture about every 2 weeks. That gives the grass a break and a chance to regrow. When the cows are not actively grazing, they're often resting and chewing their cud. Chewing their cud means they actually regurgitate some of the feed that they ate earlier and chew it a second time. They do this to help break down the tough grassy fibers and help get the maximum nutrients out of their feed. All of our cows wear these special collars with tags on the side of their neck. They're like cow Fitbits. They measure the activity of the cow, how much she's moving around, and they even have a microphone on the inside that listens to the cow's stomach churning as it's digesting her feed. The information from the microphone helps us to know if there's something wrong with the cow's tummy, and then we can help make her feel better. Each tag has a number that identifies her, so we know who is who in the herd. If anything goes wrong, we know which cow to look for so that we can treat her and help make her feel better. Here we are inside the milking barn where there's shade, and the fans are making a real nice breeze through the barn. It's always comfortable and cool in here. Inside the barn, our cows rest on water beds, and on top of the water beds, we put chopped straw. Straw is the leftovers of the plant when a grain farmer grows wheat or barley or oats, and we buy that from their farm, chop it up, and bring it into the barn to make clean, dry bedding. Our cows spend about half of their day just resting. Usually they're chewing their cud, sometimes they're even sleeping, but often they're just hanging out. Inside the barn, we have these slots in the floor. That's so that the poop and the pee can fall down and we can collect it. We can store it until the spring or the fall, and then we can haul it out onto the field and use it to fertilize our crops. Bless you. Inside the barn, the cows have a brush that they can use to scratch that nasty part on their back where their tails just won't reach. Oh yeah. When a cow decides she'd like to get milked, she walks into the robot anytime, day or night. If the robot agrees that she's ready to be milked, based on how long it's been since her last milking, it will start feeding her a special treat, and at the same time, start preparing her for milking. The robot uses rotating brushes to clean the udder and make sure there isn't any straw or dirt stuck to her. After that, it will attach the teat cups, one on each quarter, and start milking the cow. It measures both the quality and the amount of milk that the cow is giving. On average, each cow will produce about 32 liters of milk, or 8-gallon jugs, every day. In Manitoba, we have processing plants that take the milk from our farms and either fill it into jugs for drinking milk, or separate it for cream, or use it to make sour cream, yogurt, butter, cheese, ice cream, and all sorts of delicious food. Our milk gets picked up every 2 days, so when you buy it in the store, you know it's as fresh as possible. Now, you probably know that milk is an important source of calcium, which is important for strong bone and strong teeth. But milk also has a lot of protein, which is important for growing muscles and for your immune system. On top of that, milk is also an important source of a lot of other nutrients. Among these is vitamin D, vitamin B12, zinc, potassium, and magnesium. Now I'm going to show you roughly what we feed to our cows besides the grass that they go and get themselves. And this is enough feed for a cow to last her 1 day. We'll start with 13 kilograms of grass silage. Then we'll take 20 kilograms of corn silage, top it off with 4 kilograms of ground corn and 3 kilograms of dry hay, and then add in 3 kilograms of feed that we purchase from the nutritionist. This is all of the vitamins and minerals that the cows need to stay healthy. Cows have 4 chambers where they digest their feed. First is the rumen, then the reticulum, then the omasum, and then the abomasum. The rumen is the biggest part, where there's colonies of bacteria that help to break down the fibers that are in the grass, in the corn silage, and in the hay. Think about how much feed this is. If you think you could eat a lot, don't ever challenge a cow to an eating contest. We're here in the calf barn where we keep the young calves. These girls are less than 3 months old and they're still drinking milk. Now, you might wonder why these calves don't just stay with their mothers. It's important that they get the best start possible in their life. That means we have to make sure they get proper feed and that they stay healthy. And we can do a better job of making sure the calves stay healthy than cows. When young cows are about 2 years old, they have their first calf. And it's only after they have a calf that they start producing milk. But they produce way more milk than one calf can drink. We give each of our calves a name, and the first letter always matches her mother's name. So this here is Jessica. And I think she's getting pretty hungry. Thanks for coming to our farm!
Oh, Stefan, so amazing. Thank you for letting us come visit you.
Thanks. That was lots of fun. Watching that video just a few weeks ago, it feels like. It's amazing how sunny and warm and bright it was, and today it's a little chilly.
Definitely, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So as that video was playing, I was seeing some questions come in through the feed, but we're going to start things off with some of the questions that some classrooms sent in prior to the event. We had a pre-survey that we sent out, and we had some curious kids send in some questions that we would like to ask you, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go. I'm excited.
Okay, let's dive in. So the first question comes from Julie Dick's class at Tanner's Crossing School. And her class is wondering, how many calves does a cow have in her lifetime?
Ooh, that's an excellent question, Julie. So most cows will have 3 or 4 calves in her lifetime. But I had a cow, she got to be 15 years old. And in 15 years, she had 12 calves. So she had 10 singles, and then she had a pair of twins at one point as well.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So second question here is from Jenny Francisco's class at St. Gerard's School. And they're wondering, how big do cows get?
How big do cows get? Let's check. This big. But to answer your question, this cow, she's probably about 600 kilograms, or about 1,300 pounds, 1,300 pounds. So they get to be pretty big.
Wow.
They're not really tall, like they're only about up to my shoulders. But yeah, they're pretty big.
Oh, they're beautiful. And how large on average, Stefan, would be the average calf, just out of curiosity?
Oh, a calf? A calf, when she's newly born, will be usually around 30, maybe 40 kilograms if she's really big. 30 kilograms would be about 65 pounds. So maybe about the same weight as a student.
Yeah, about an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Crystal Nichols' class from McGregor Elementary is wondering, do you also milk cows by hand?
Do I milk cows by hand? Well, we're here in the barn. I normally don't milk cows by hand. It'd be really rare that I do. It might be if I want to just check a little bit of milk, or if in an emergency I need some milk for her calf and I have to milk her by hand. So I still remember how to do it. My dad taught me well. But no, we have these robots. So there's one over there and there's one over here, or automated milking systems, as they're sometimes called. And they milk my cows. So they work 24 hours a day, so day and night. Whenever a cow is ready, see over there, I think that's Ruby in the back there. She's lined up, she's ready to go. So as soon as as the milking machine opens the door, she's going to walk in, and then she'll get milked.
Okay. And cows like Ruby, how many times a day would they go into the milking system to be milked?
Most of the time, they can milk about 3 times a day. Some will try more often because when she walks in, she gets a little reward, a little treat. But most cows will milk about 3 times a day. Okay,
awesome. So our next question here for you, Stefan, is from a student. Her name is Claire, and she's from Jennifer Galbraith's class at Ecole Riverview School. And she is wondering, how long does it take to turn milk into cheese?
Ooh, that's an excellent question. So milk, when it leaves my farm, most of my milk actually goes to Bothwell cheese. I hope you've heard of it because it's the best cheese. I might be a little biased, but it's like 5 minutes down the road. They make cheese there, and it totally depends what kind of cheese they're making. So if they're making like a mozzarella cheese, like you'd find on your pizza, that's a really fresh cheese. Or those cheese curds, those squeakers, oh, those are delicious. Those are really fresh. So those are like a couple of days from when the milk leaves my farm until it's on the shelf ready to eat. But they also make some really delicious old cheddar and other aged cheeses. And those take a long time. So some of those can take 2 or 3 months where they have to age to get that really rich flavor. Those are also really good.
It's amazing to think that from your cow being milked to being able to buy some cheese in the grocery store, that it could be as little as 2 days. It's just amazing to think of all the people involved in making that happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually pretty fitting that we have a cow in the background there with some brown spots, Stefan, because the next question comes from Michelle Ducharme at Ecole Garden Grove. And her class is wondering, does chocolate milk actually come from brown cows?
That's a great question. I hear it all the time because people think, well, that makes sense, right? And if you're buying eggs, brown eggs come from brown chickens. But in fact, it doesn't. Unfortunately, we can't just get chocolate milk straight out of our brown cows. They produce white milk, just like all the other cows. So, but chocolate milk, it's delicious. I love it. It's got all the same nutrients, 15 essential nutrients. So it's got all the same nutrition, just they add a little extra flavoring, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, it is delicious. Okay, the last question we're going to pull in from the pre-submitted questions is from Terry Camus' class at Ecole RW Bobby Bend. And this is a personal question for you. They're wondering, is being a dairy farmer hard?
Is being a dairy farmer hard? That's an interesting question. I don't know how to answer that. I've been following the news, and maybe some of you have heard on the news as well, about the farms in British Columbia where they're being flooded right now. And I know what those farmers are going through. They're worried about their animals, and they're trying their best. I'm sure some of them, they bring their families away to higher ground, and they're going back in to try and get their cows out. So it can be really hard, but most of the time it's really enjoyable work. I mean, I get to hang out with animals and I get to grow things. I know lots of people that do that same thing as a hobby, right? And I get to do it and at the same time earn a living. So I don't see it as hard. I think it's really rewarding.
Very cool. Thanks, Stefan. Well, it looks like we already have some questions popping up from the live feed here. If you're cool to dive right in, we'll do that.
Let's go.
All right. So Sandra Smith's class, looks like they're wondering, or Brooke actually in grade 3 is asking, how do you take care of cows and your family at the same time? Is that hard?
Yeah, it can be. It can be a little frustrating sometimes when you have to take care of a cow in the barn, and at the same time the family is wanting to, I don't know, go to the beach or go somewhere. That can be hard. But like you saw in the video, I have a really great family, really great kids, and they really enjoy coming and living and working and helping on the farm. So it's really something we get to do together, which again is, I'm super lucky to be able to do that. A lot of people in their jobs, the only time they can bring their kids to work is on take your kid to work day. and I get to do that pretty much every day. So it's a balancing act sometimes. It can be tricky, but most of the time it's really cool. Whether it's in the barn or coming along on a tractor for a tractor ride while we're doing field work, there's lots of time we can spend together.
And your wife is a teacher too, so she's very familiar with this world of education, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question here from Wendy Skogland's class. Have you ever been kicked by a cow?
Have I ever been kicked by a cow? Oh, it's been a long time, but yeah, sometimes if you get a little bit too close to a cow and she's not ready for you, like if you're too quiet and you sneak up on her, then she can get a little spooked and she can kick you, not because she's mad, but because she gets spooked and a little bit scared. So we learned some tricks about how to approach a cow, make sure that she knows you're coming, and make sure that she's comfortable with you being around her. We work with our cows a lot. Like I'm here in the barn and the cows are walking around, and so they're really used to us. They're really tame, if you want to think of it that way. And so it's pretty rare that they get upset and try and kick you.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll look for another question here. Allison Gregg, this is coming from Daniel at George Fitton School. And he is wondering, how often do your cows get milked? So if you could that'd be great.
Yeah, like our friend Ruby over there, she wanted to come in, and I don't know if you noticed, but she walked into the milking machine, and then the door opened, and she walked right back out. So she actually wasn't ready for milking. She hadn't waited long enough since her last milking, so she had to leave, and she'll come back later. So it depends a little bit on the cow. Some cows it's only 2 times a day, and some cows it's more, it's 4 times a day, but on average about 3 is normal.
Is it quite normal for cows to keep trying to get milk just because they love that candy feed that you have in there for them?
Yeah, sometimes it takes them a little while to figure it out that they only get candy when they're ready to be milked.
Right.
And sometimes it takes them a little bit of time to figure out that schedule. Yeah.
Well, that's worth the try.
And then some cows, they're just happy-go-lucky. Let's go try. Oh, I didn't get anything this time. All right, let's try again.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's really interesting. Sometimes they're almost ready for a milking, and you'll see them walk in, and then they walk out, and they go back, and then 2 minutes later they try again, and then they try again, and then they try again, and then they get milked. So sometimes it's like they know it's almost time, but not quite. So
that sounds kind of familiar. It kind of sounds like my 10 and 8-year-olds at home sometimes.
Yeah. Is it dinner time yet? Yet?
Exactly. All right, let's pull in another question here. So this is from the 3 Papaguineas.
Okay.
Like have you always had a robot milking machine on your farm?
No. We used to milk in what we call the parlor. So the cows would walk in, and we would milk 8 cows at the same time. And we would have to clean the udders, and we attach the milking machines and do all of that by hand twice a day, every day. And then for a while we were doing 3 times a day, every day, but that gets to be like early morning and late night. So that's not really much fun. But about, 13 years ago, we bought the first one of these milking machines. And then since then, we added the second one when the herd grew a little bit.
Okay, and is there one of the milking systems that the cows prefer over the other, or are they both pretty equally used?
Yeah, it has a little bit to do with how they're placed in the barn. So this one is more in the middle of the barn, and that one is more kind of in the corner. So some cows are kind of bigger, aggressive cows, so they like to go to this one because that's like, I'm coming now, this is my spot. And some cows are a little more timid, and they kind of prefer the one that's kind of out of the way and just like, don't bother me, I'll be over here milking.
Okay.
So they have different characteristics, and you kind of learn to see them. And yeah, some cows prefer one, some cows prefer the other, but most will go to either one.
Very neat. Okay, let's move on to another question here. Scarlett, a grade 3 student from Brittany Bell's class, is wondering, do you control the milking systems or the milking machines?
Oh, I guess I wasn't really clear on that. No, it's so I control in the sense that it's connected to a computer, and I monitor, and it tells me which cow got milked when and how much milk she gave, and if the milk was all good and all those things. So I control them that way, but they run completely on their own. So when the cow walks in at 2 o'clock in the morning because she'd like to get milked, it does everything automatically. So it cleans the udder, it cleans the teats, it attaches the cups, it milks the cow, it feeds the cow, and when she's done, it lets her go. So it's all automatic. It's really cool technology.
Very cool. Good question, Scarlett.
Yeah.
All right. Jocelyn Muller's class is wondering, how long can a cow produce milk before having another calf?
Oh, great question. So cows can have a calf as fast or as frequently as one per year, so about 12 months apart. But most of the time, our cows, we kind of extend that a little bit, so it's more like 13 or 14 months. And so for that time between calvings, so if she's going to have a calf in 14 months, she'll milk for about 12 months and then have a 2-month break, a 2-month pregnancy vacation, and she'll hang out on her own. She is not getting milked at that time. And then when she has the calf, she comes back into this barn and comes back to be milking cow.
Okay, very neat. Thanks
Great
for the question, Jocelyn. Good question. Kennedy, another grade 3 student, is wondering, where do you keep the cows in the winter, and how, 2 questions, and how long have you been a farmer?
So it's kind of winter right now, and the cows are all staying in the barn. So in the summer, they get the choice to go out the barn, the door at the back. So the door right there, that big door.
Yeah, we see it. Yeah.
See it? Yeah, that big sliding door. We open that up, and they can go in or out, and they can choose. And like I said in the tour, some cows, even in the summer, they prefer to stay in the barn because it's shady and breezy. But in the winter, they all stay inside all the time. Yeah. And then the other question was, how long have I been a farmer?
Yes.
I've really been a farmer all my life. So, you know, when you grow up on a farm, you get to start doing farming things at a really young age. And as you grow up, you get to do more farming things and take more responsibility and learn more things.
Yep.
And then when I finished my grade 12, then I went to university, and I was a student for most of the year. But in the summer, I came back home, and guess what? I was farming.
So you learned many things that you need to as you're growing over many, many years, it seems.
Yeah.
Very neat. Okay, Mrs. Semler's class at Gladstone Elementary School is wondering, why do they lie on water beds?
The cows, why do they sleep on the water beds? Because they're super comfy. It's really soft, and it doesn't, they prefer them. When I first put the water beds in, they're not that old, they're only a few years old. When I first put them in, we did one section of the barn at a time. And then it was really interesting because as soon as the cows figured out that those are the water beds, those were always the spots that were filled up with cows first. So they learned really quick that that's a really comfortable place to lay down and rest.
Yeah, so I don't blame them.
They like it. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, let's look for another question here. We'll keep answering questions for another 10 minutes or so, and then we're going to dive into the next portion. So this is coming from Shelley Elliott's class, and they're wondering, do the cows' hooves ever poke a hole in the water beds when they step on them?
Oh, no, they don't. They're really, really tough. Like they're, how do I describe it? Maybe as tough as like a tire or a bicycle tire. Okay. Like it's really, really good rubber.
Strong
fabric. And they're meant for cows to walk on and step on, so they don't poke holes in them.
Very neat. Is the water in the water beds room temperature? Is it cooler? Is it warmer, or what?
Yeah, it's room temperature. And I mean, when the cow is laying on it for a while, then it kind of warms up from her own body heat, just like your bed warms up after you've been laying in it and sleeping for a while. Same idea. Yeah.
Thanks for the question, Shelley. Okay. This is from, I think, Gilbert Plains Elementary would be my guess here. And this is from Megan Alana's class. They're wondering, how many cows do you have?
How many cows I have? So I have about 65, 70 cows that are milking. And then I have another about 15 cows that are not milking, that are on their pregnancy break, and probably another 80 or so young stocks, we call that. So that's everybody from a newborn calf all the way up to a 2-year-old cow that's almost ready to have her first calf. We call those heifers. So about 80. It depends, because sometimes one gets born and then another one calves, so the number changes a little bit. But yeah, about 160 animals in total on the farm.
Wow. And where do the heifers stay on the farm?
So they stay in another barn. In the summer, they stay outside on the pasture pretty much all the time. And in the winter, they have barns to go in when it's windy and breezy. But even in the winter, one of the barns is open to outside. So they can go in and out, and they grow a big bushy coat, and they like to go outside in the winter and hang out in the sunshine and fresh air. So cows actually really like the cold. They don't mind it at all.
Oh, very cool. I didn't know that. Interesting. All right, so we had a question up there. Here it is. This is from Liam. Right. He's a grade 2 student in Brittany Bell's class, and they're wondering, how do you know which cow is which?
Oh, great question, because sometimes the cows get to be very, very similar, especially like if I have twins, then they look almost exactly the same. And even sometimes sisters, they can look really similar. Like the pattern is very similar. Mm-hmm. So all of my cows, there's 2 ways I can identify them. One is they all have numbers in their ears. So it's kind of like earrings. They wear the tags with numbers. And that same number is on their collar, on their necklace. So that's how we know for sure which one is which. So the one that's milking right now, she's 987. That's her number. And then the other way we can identify them and tell them apart is on the side of their collar, that rumination tag, that electronic tag, that has a unique number programmed into it. So it's kind of like a room key card or like a pass card that the robot uses to identify them.
Very cool. And what do those numbers help you do as a farmer, Stefan?
Yeah, so like 987, she's in the robot right now. After she's done milking, I can go to the computer and I can see, if she gave good milk, if all of her health information is good. So that's how I can connect the information that the robot is collecting to the cow that is standing in the barn. And then also if I have to do something special with the cow, or I have to record which calf belonged to which cow, we can use the numbers for that. And actually all of my cows are registered. They actually even have their own web page that has their parents' names and numbers. Wow. And then if they have any calves, they have their calf's name and numbers. So they're all recorded that way.
Wow, very neat. Really, really cool. Good question, Liam.
Great question.
So Shelley Elliott's class is wondering, how many teeth does a cow have?
How many teeth? I don't even know. That is a great question. I hope that's not going to be on the Kahoot quiz later, because I was hoping to win that. But something about the teeth that's really interesting is that cows lose their teeth, just like kids. So they'll lose their teeth sometimes, and a new one will pop in and grow. Interesting.
I didn't know that. And I also found out, actually, I learned a new fact the other day that cows don't have upper teeth.
Yeah, that was in the intro blurb.
Yeah,
so
I didn't know that.
they just have a hard palate. So when they're biting grass in the field, it's kind of like, I guess, for a cook.
Yeah, and I guess that's why you often see them kind of wrapping their tongue around the grass too, right? Is that they can't actually properly bite onto it, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, very neat. So Leah, a student from Arbor Gate School, is wondering, do cows need a lot of maintenance?
Ooh, Arbor Gate School. I know a teacher in that school. Hello,
looks like this is Karen Piper's class.
Oh, this is Karen Piper's class. Oh, that's the other class. Okay. Well then, my wife would know you. Welcome here. Back to the question. Do they need a lot of maintenance? Not really. No. We meet their basic needs. We take care of them, and they kind of hang out and do their own thing most of the time.
Okay. Lennox, a grade 3 student from Sandra Smith's class, is wondering, does the cow Fitbit ever make an alarm sound if something is wrong?
Ooh, great question. It doesn't. No. Probably because it would spook the cow, right? If suddenly the necklace on her neck was starting to make weird beeping alarms. What it does do, though, if something is wrong, is it sends me a message on my phone, kind of like a text message, and then I can know right away. And even I don't even have to be in the barn, or if I'm in the tractor or in the field or away from the cow, I know that something's wrong, and I can go and take care of it. Yeah,
it's amazing, that technology that you have now to help with things like that.
It's really cool. Neat. Yeah,
very, very cool. Okay, so we have another question. We'll take, I'm thinking maybe about 3 or 4 more questions based on the time here. This is from Wendy Skogland's class. And they are wondering, how many different colors do cows come in?
All sorts of colors. So most of my cows, you notice, they're black and white. And then I have some that are brown and white. And I have one cow that is all brown, but she's got a few like different shades of brown. So black and white cows are the most common in milking herds. And other than that, yeah, there's a whole bunch of different ranges of colors of brown and light brown and beige and dark brown cows.
Very neat. And I'm sure some kid is wondering this, so I'm just going to ask it. The milk doesn't taste any different depending on the color of the cow, right?
Ooh, it does a little bit. There's some cows, like the brown Swiss and the Jersey cows, they have a little bit of creamier milk. So it's got a little more creamy flavor to it. And my cows, my Holstein cows, they have a little more protein. That's kind of their different flavor. So it's not something you really taste, but it's really nutritious.
You got some right up beside you there saying hello.
Yeah. Oh.
So we have another question here from Kinley, and this is from RJ Woe Elementary. And Kinley is wondering, what was the name of your first cow? Do you remember that, Stefan?
I don't. We did have a cow. Her name was Regula, and she was one of the first, I would say, really friendly cows that we had. And I remember her from when we were really young. So that's probably the first one that I remember the name today. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, let's pull in a couple more questions, and then we're going to move on to the next part of today's event. This is from Sandra Smith's class, and this is from Isabella. She's a grade 3, Hattie and Isabella, I should say, both grade 3 students. And they're wondering, what is your favorite part of taking care of cows?
Cows can be really content animals when they're like resting and relaxing. And sometimes it's just really nice to walk through the barn or walk through the field, and they're all kind of relaxing and chill and really giving you a sense that everything is okay. So I would say that's my favorite part.
Well, I can imagine why. Very, very neat. Okay, so let's pull in one more question here if we could.
So to that, I had somebody who was working for me for a while.
Yeah.
And she would often, after she had a rough day doing something else, she'd say, "Hey, I'm just coming to the farm to hang out with the cows. Just don't worry, nothing's wrong in the barn. I'm just coming to hang out with the girls." So that makes me feel good.
I could see why. When I was out there in the summertime with you, it is very peaceful when you're on the pasture and they're enjoying the sun and eating grass and kind of just roaming around. It's very, very nice. You have a nice home for them there. Okay, so let's pull in this last question here. This is from Zayden from George Fitton School. And Zayden is wondering, where does most of your milk go to?
Most of the time, my milk goes to Bothwell cheese to make cheese. But sometimes it goes all the way to Winnipeg, and it gets filled into jugs and cartons and for drinking milk. So that's the 2 places it usually goes.
Okay, really, really neat. Thank you so much, Stefan. It's amazing. It amazes me every time just how much farmers like you need to know in order to care for your animals and provide what's best for them in their habitat and to make sure that they're healthy and comfortable. The amount of knowledge that you as a farmer needs to be able to accomplish that and bring milk and delicious cheese and ice cream and all those wonderful things to our tables is pretty amazing. So thank you.
Well, I'm super impressed by all these great questions we had today. Like, there are some really thoughtful questions, and it's always exciting to meet people that want to know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's really hard to have a field trip come to the farm, especially in these times. So this is really cool that there's so many people that are interested in what we're doing and want to learn more about where their food comes from. So it's,
I agree.
This is really nice. Thanks.
I agree. Thanks, Stefan. So we're going to keep Stefan on the line because he also wants to watch how all of you do in this live Kahoot game that we're about to play. So we're going to wrap up the Q&A portion. And teachers and students, we're going to move over to the live dairy Kahoot game. So just as a reminder, all devices that you're using to play the game should be logged into kahoot.it. That's kahoot.it. And we'll be placing the game pin up on this main screen that you're watching me on right now. And when you see the pin code, please enter that code onto your device that you're playing with, right where it says game pin. That's where you're going to put that in. And you can also place your team name up on there, and then you should be ready to play. So we're going to give a couple of minutes to all of you across Manitoba to start getting your team names in and into Kahoot. And we will start after the 2 minutes, just so that we can keep things moving. So I see that people are already rolling in. So that's awesome. So we're going to make the Kahoot game full screen. And in 2 minutes, we will start it up. And we're going to see how all of you do across Manitoba with your dairy knowledge. Thanks, everyone. We'll come back in a little bit. Awesome job, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the Kahoot game. Our apologies. We had a little bit of a tech issue with the sound with the game, but we're trying to help you out so that you can talk back and forth with your students in the classroom. So if you want to play that game again, it will be made available up on our Follow the Farmer registered teacher program page, along with all the other activities and a recording of today's session. I also want to mention, please feel free to send us some pictures of what you're doing in classrooms. We'll enter you in to win our Teach A contest for the month and a $50 Chapters gift card to buy some new books for your classroom. And that brings us to the end of today's event. I want to again thank Penner Farm Services for being the video sponsor of these farm tours. And first and foremost to Stefan, our dairy farmer extraordinaire. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of our questions today, Stefan. I know the students learned a lot. I learned a lot of new things as well. And thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for coming to visit on this virtual visit. It was really fun. That Kahoot game was really challenging. There's some really sneaky questions you put in there, so that was fun. I realized I didn't even make it to the top of the podium, but I had some distractions over here, so the girls are coming for an afternoon snack. But thank you very much, Larissa. That was really fun, and yeah, I hope everybody has a good day.
Our pleasure. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time in the new year. We're going to be on Dusty Ridge Ranch at a sheep farm in February. Have an amazing day, everyone, and thanks again, Stefan. We'll see you soon. Bye.